Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. I hope you guys are doing well. And just want to see if you guys can hear me in the chat room.
Hi, you guys. It's testing time because they like to turn off the microphone a lot. And we got a really cool special treat today from one of our subs. She sent in some information that I've been curious about for months. So thank you so much for that.
So we're going to talk about the emerald tablets of Thoth. And something, I've listened to several times and read as well, going back years. And, so that is... The lizard pick is what the emerald tablets are talking about when we go over to this one chapter. It's pretty interesting stuff, Glad you guys could hear us. So let's see what we got. We got Stephanie, White Rabbit, Everett H, Crash Steel, Jeff, Strange Days, Calvin, good to see you, Lady Yolanda, Coyote Prophet.
Hello, Mr. DG57. Luke, Penny Love Dance. Hello. Yay, Coyote. It's so great. I love to see familiar faces. That's what makes it kind of homey.
Most definitely. So Luke asks, what's the email? It's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. And that's all I've done today is clean up email. Just going through trying to answer everybody. It's just been since we woke up at 8 o'clock. So got it somewhat caught up now. Hey, Waynesville. Elaine in the house. And Waynesville, great place. I really enjoyed living in the area. Beautiful area. And Boojums. Great place to go and just enjoy yourself at down there.
Yeah, I got the pleasure and honor of going there a couple of times. So it's fun.
Yeah, it was great. We don't really have anything like that around us at all. Right. There's really nothing much around us when you get down to it.
Hi, Miss Angela. Hi, Calvin.
Okay, earmuffs are on, waiting for the roar.
Okay, you guys. Ready? Roar!
Just fiercer and fiercer, like a 5-pound putty tat.
Oh, I'm getting better, you guys. You hear the R roll thing in there? It's happening.
Oh, so Rick says the person that is suing all those people took my idea. I wonder what idea that was. Hello, Penny. Yeah, we missed a day. We did miss a day. Though I know a lot of people aren't getting notifications, and maybe people are still just looking on the first channel. Because, the first channel's been demonized, as you say. It's been Dracoized.
It has. It's been Dracoized.
Yeah. There was one. It's amazing, like the comments that come out. Because we talked about the reptilian thing, there was somebody that posted a comment saying, you're no healer, you're talking about fear-based stuff. Well, if that's the source of all our problems, shouldn't people know it? It's you can't make everybody happy, and there's a lot of people that really like to lash out nowadays, more than ever, and just find fault with everything. And, the fact is, we're in a system that is a mess, and it's the system and it's the people that are under the control of these dark powers that are now doing, their next level of putting in, more of a police state. That's all we have. It just keeps going higher and higher and higher. So, Angela's Green Arts in the house. Good to see you as well. Love is the key, most definitely, and holding our vibration. But still, so that's the thing, you have, and this is the thing I've always grappled with the channel, is most of the world's asleep. So you want to wake up as many people as possible so you could affect positive change. Because if you only tailor to the people that are awake, you're only tailoring to a tiny percentage. So, the challenge is to wake up people, as well, while still maintaining our vibration.
Absolutely. And it's super important that we understand what we're up against. If you don't understand what you're up against, then how do you know where to put yourself? How do you know where to place your feet if you can't see the path in front of you? You don't know where the pitfalls might be. And with me, I don't know about you guys, but with me, through my life, whenever something was bothering me or disturbed me, it always helped to learn as much as possible. I would just delve into whatever topic was scaring me and learn as much as possible. And it felt like the more that I understood it, the less fearful it became. So it's like I was able to take away its power.
Which is good. Yeah, people are talking about the David Icke one that got taken down. And let's see, lots of good comments here. No, Luke, I didn't draw it personally, but just basically found it, thought it was very, very apropos, so to speak. Yeah, so we got to keep the vibes high. And, there's a lot of good stuff going on right now. And in Cindy and I's meditation last night, she got the impression that the forces of the light, the Pleiadians specifically, were like much closer than she's ever felt them before.
They were close. It's like the line of information that holds on to me was stronger last night than it's ever been. The information felt really strong. I couldn't stay where I was for very long because it seems like they connect through my heart, and it was hurting my heart. So it does feel like that they're closer than we think.
Yeah, they are, definitely. And as we've shared, every time we go back home, we see them. And so they always flash. There's always this flash of light, and then it kind of twinkles in the pattern of the Pleiades stars. At least that's how I perceive it. Do you perceive it the same way?
Yeah, I do.
It's so curious because, I'll see it and say, "Did you see that?" She's like, "Yes," or vice versa. So, we always see it even when we're like working out there and maybe, doing some digging or putting up a fence or whatever it is. And we're both looking off in different directions. And then we just kind of automatically look over in the one direction. And there it is. There's this flash of light. And it's just kind of like saying, "Hey, we're here," and so they are here, and I think they are getting closer. But when I was asking you last night when you were channeling the info, and basically said, if more and more people asked for help, that it would help, because you said it was like, a drowning person screaming for help, and then of course they're going to throw a lifeline and help as they can.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it was the people need to grab the rope. That's the most important part. They'll throw the rope. It's up to you if you want to grab it and hold on to it, hold on to that line of information, hold on to that higher vibration, not stoop and play the games. And it is really about the heart being pure as possible.
So yeah, I did see that, Luke, where the Pope is no longer the vicar of Christ. And yeah, the presidential seal, was gone. And then I think it came back for a day and then it went. Jordan 888 says he's confused because we think the reptilians are the lords of the earth. Basically, okay, Jordan, you got to go back to school. You've only learned one story. You haven't learned the big picture and exactly what's going on. So, many people they've been brought up in one particular mindset, just one mindset, and they haven't researched, all the different traditions around the world. And then they also, trust verbatim the King James Bible. Oh, yeah. Which, when you look at it, who put it together? Well, Jordan can answer for us. Jordan, who put together the King James Bible? When was the first, what's the date of the first full book of Genesis that we have? When was it written? See, doesn't even know.
No.
He doesn't have a clue. And that's exactly, bye-bye. So, you get people like that, and they just like to stir it. They just like to create the negative vibes. The division. And that's the whole problem behind the whole thing. And we can't tolerate it anymore, guys. Because, the fact is that, and I see it time and time again where people are just so closed-minded, and they don't question, and they even trust the politicians. I mean, they will trust one side of the politicians, not realizing that both sides are controlled by the same, dark powers.
No, really, I mean, it's like such an abuse of information, misuse, misleading of the people. Makes people feel like garbage, like dirt when you go to church, and they just yell at you, you're a sinner, and they haven't even researched half of the different belief systems that are out there, and it's cut off for a reason. It's cut off to keep us at each other's throats, and it's misguided, misused. It's like covert narcissism, which I believe is one of the deepest seated problems that mankind has. And honestly, I didn't understand narcissism until I started to study it. And when I started to study it, I understood it was even in my own heart. And it's when you can recognize something in yourself, a false that you have, pick it out, look at it, say, ooh, that's kind of bad. That's kind of yucky. I don't want to be like that anymore. And you make the choice to be a better person. It's kind of like when we know better, we do better. And that's what life should be about. Not about what book you read or somebody else read and whether they're right or wrong. It's about being true to your heart.
Exactly. And, it's interesting. There's so many channeled books that started coming out in the late 80s, early 90s, that really did a great job at describing what we're going to go through in this time. We've talked about Barbara Marciniak, Barbara Handclough as well. And there's others, that were so accurate. So one of the things that we're pretty convinced about is that a lot of the negative energies are coming through the phones, so we're turning them off as when we're not using them. We're turning them off and leaving them off. And we were warned about that. It was going to be the use of the technology that is going to be how they reach out to us and touch us in a negative way. And also travel through, because think about it. So what are we talking about when we're talking about these, reptilians? And boy, we got such trolls. Well, let's get rid of the trolls. And what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about beings that operate on different planes of existence, but are able to kind of control and take over certain people, especially with bloodlines. And that's why these, bloodlines have been in power. And, this goes back a long, long time. And, it's hinted at in many different books. Obviously the Bible talks about the dragon, and it also talks about the serpent. And then in Native American lore, as we've talked about many times, it's way more clear, and simply put, because again, so much of the stuff we have biblically they're just little snippets, not even Reader's Digest accounts. It's just tiny little bits here and there. And you could see, the mindset of the world. What is, what are the two most powerful religions in the world? It's modern Christianity and Islam, which all come out of the Abrahamic traditions. And did you ever wonder why God, quote unquote, rejected Cain's sacrifice, which was all of basically non-meat? It's not a blood sacrifice. It was vegetables and fruit and grains, that type of thing. And accepted the blood sacrifice. Well, that's a clue for us right there, because it's not a foreshadowing of Christ's blood sacrifice as they like to try to tell you. It's all about the blood itself, and it is a blood sacrifice. So that's how, things are twisted there. And it's very clear, who's in control here. Like when, we see Christ himself talking to the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the religious leaders, he basically says, they're serving the dark ones. Straight out, and those are the mainline religious leaders of that day. And if he came back right now, he would say the same thing. The same thing.
Yeah, got another one there. It's just, sometimes these people are so possessed, there's no getting through to them because they can only see one side of the coin. They only want to see one side of the coin. They feel they're safe there. And granted, when you do learn stuff, it does go straight to your ego, and your ego's, boy, does that ego not like to let go. The ego loves to hold on to every last little bit of information it's acknowledged and acquired. And oh my gosh, I understand that. I've had to unlearn so many things. I mean, basically you have to unlearn everything and be willing to do that to open your heart up. And Angela, you were asking, your kids won't wake up, any advice, and this is for other people too. You got to plant little seeds, that that they're interested in, that they'll think about. And believe it or not, those seeds grow. It might take 5 years to penetrate the energy body, but it will. And when it's time to take root, it will. And these are for your loved ones too. Anybody out there with loved ones that are still asleep and still being tortured by what society has deemed to be correct. Little seeds, they go a long, long way.
Phoenix Rain said it. People don't realize, why eat the flesh of Christ and drink his blood?
Right.
Why? That doesn't that click a little bit? Kind of tells you, because Christ was all about consciousness and changing our consciousness, getting us to be heart-centered and to live heart-centered, to have compassion, So when we look at things, let's go, Emerald Tablets of Thoth. And there's, I'm going to just go right to this part. In the form of man, they amongst us, but only to sight were they as men, as are men, serpent-headed when the glamour was lifted. Interesting there. But appearing to man as men among men, crept they into councils, taking forms that they were like unto men, slaying by their arts the chiefs of the kingdoms, taking their form and ruling over man. Only by magic could they be discovered, only by sound could their faces be seen. Sought they from kingdom of shadows to destroy man and rule in his place. But know ye, the masters were mighty in magic, able to lift the veil from the face of the serpent, able to send him back to his place. Came they to man and taught him the secret, the word that only a man can pronounce. Swift then they lifted the veil from the serpent and cast him forth from the place of men. Yet beware, the serpent still liveth in a place that is open at times to the world. Unseen they walk among thee in places where the rites have been set. Again, as time passes onward, shall they take the semblance of men. Called may they be by the master who knows the white or the black, but only the white master may control and bind them while in the flesh. Seek not the kingdom of shadows, for evil will surely appear. For only the master of brightness shall conquer the shadow of fear. Know ye, O my brother, that fear is an obstacle great. Be master of all in the brightness, and the shadow will soon disappear. Hear ye and hear my wisdom, the voice of light is clear. Seek not the valley of shadow, and light will only appear. List ye, O man, to the depths of my wisdom. Speak I of knowledge hidden from man. for I have been on my journey through space-time, even to the end of space of this cycle. I glimpsed the hounds of the barrier, lying in wait for he who would pass them in that space where time exists not. Faintly I sense the guardians of cycles. Move they only through angles, free are they not of curved dimensions. And, it's interesting that they're talking directly about this, because this is exactly what it is. And, we've seen sources talking about how it was, in Atlantis that the gates were opened and these things came through. And, when we look back to the Lemurian society, it was more of a spiritually based society, higher vibed. But something happened to it and it was destroyed. Then we look to the Vedic texts, we see that there's these wars that have been going on. So, we want to focus on the love and the light, but we have to realize too that there is a war underway, and it's a huge war.
It is a war. It's a war for our souls. And believe me, the ones who are the controllers are the ones who wrote the books that they want us to read. I mean, if you can't see that, at least, then there's not a lot we can do. All we can do is provide the information. But please don't come in here and stomp on somebody's desire to learn more, to know more, to understand more. That's just not nice, to cut people off of the opportunity to understand something much greater and much deeper than what's been put in front of our face in a box, and say, okay, here, you can only look at this, only this, and if you dare look anywhere else, you're going to burn in hell. That's just so wrong. It's so abusive, and that's what our society has been based on. And when you look at these tablets of Thoth, these people, it's talking about light, it's talking about information, it's talking about frequency. And if these frequencies are lifted, we could see these people who have come in amongst us. And our bodies are made of light and frequency and sound. And when you put all these things together, you get a certain, you get a body and you get information. So all of this is it is like a hologram. It is being manipulated around us, which is really kind of cool when you get down into the depth of it. And I do want to say a special thanks to Miss Katie. You're the one who sent me this email, and I had to double check and make sure it was okay to use your name. I so appreciate you. Thank you.
So when we say, who has been controlling the world system? Well, it's these dark energies. These dark energies are controlling the leadership of the world, and it's, as we know, it's a limited number of families, these particular bloodlines, and that's because it's easier for them to manifest and control in these certain bloodlines. They're of a certain resonance, a certain vibe, and that's why they're in power. So, when you look at it, you gotta really, I started to question, why does it seem like the powers that be, and obviously they're greedy, and everything is kind of a self-centered, greedy system that we have going in here right now.
They're just all over.
But it's more than that. It's destructive. And it's trying to, when we look clearly, we see all the poisoning of the waters, poisoning of the land. Why do we even have nuclear power plants when you think about it? It's fascinating too, because that whole nuclear thing goes way back as well. There's evidence that there were nuclear wars going on, and in the past. There's evidence of that around the globe as well, that there was nuclear warfare in the past. There's radioactive places, over in the Sinai Peninsula, for instance. So that is just a destructive energy that is not only destructive on 3D, but in other dimensions as well, as Cindy has gotten. And I've always felt that way too, that, when you're setting off nukes, you're damaging things on many different densities.
You are, and it's the people that wrote the Bible that you study are the ones who are creating the nukes, are the ones who are keeping us from ascending, because when you do set off a nuke, it goes into the ether. It stops the ascension, and that's just a terrible thing. And you guys, some of you don't have the ability to see past and look at the whole picture. You're only, I'm sorry, but you're small-minded, and I don't like to talk about people like that, but you have to expand your consciousness. That's what this is all about. And if you only give yourself the ability and the opportunity to expand your consciousness from one single book, then you're really limiting yourself, and you're probably a really cool person, but you're too afraid. You're too afraid. You live in fear, and that's really sad.
Everybody has their opinions on things too, and everything is kind of like a fallen. Well, it's a state of being that evolves as you go on, and so like Master Yoda says, Lucifer is a fallen angel. And where do you really get that? Where do you really get that? Have you looked up every reference to Lucifer in the Bible? Morning star, and when you go back to the translations too, we see revision after revision. The Gospel of John, the oldest version we have, has been edited over 1,000 times. 1,000 times. So, they have gotten the majority of the world to put their faith in one tradition. And that tradition has been created from taking just a small amount of books that have been redacted and edited time after time after time in order to give a particular frame of mind that's going to not get the bigger picture. And, that's part of the biggest problem we have is through the brainwashing and the control that's been given to us. What we have to do is look beyond that, look at all the sources, and then you start to get a clearer picture when you start studying, all the different mythologies and traditions and, all the quote unquote holy books from every tradition. Then you start to become well-rounded. And, because when we're talking about like Lucifer, most people that have studied this in depth would point to Lucifer being Venus. And, that's really what it's talking about. So, yeah, exactly. It's people just, there's just such a lack of knowledge and understanding that it's staggering. But then that's how this world is kept in the darkness, through a lack of understanding, which is ego-based, because, again, it's like thinking, well, only I have the right system, and when we think about it, doesn't take much to look at it and, go back to the Judeo-Christian tradition, for instance, and say God's chosen people. Why would the prime creator, source of everything, pick one tribe to make his chosen people? It makes absolute zero sense. Now, if you look at it from the standpoint that they're trying to justify their acts as they go ahead and take over somebody else's land and commit genocide, well, okay, then we start to understand. And then when we look also and we see the history of the globe with that same genocidal mindset that wipes out anybody that was of a different, ideology, first in Europe, and then as it spread through Europe, eventually, they went and colonized, quote unquote, the Americas, wiping out all the indigenous people there too. And, all to, quote unquote, save souls. Meanwhile, filling the gold into the Vatican and the coffers of the kingdoms of like Spain and Portugal and England and France, as they spread the religion around the globe. Meanwhile, stealing the gold, stealing all sorts of items. And it's very biblical too. Look at Jericho. And so when Jericho fell, they killed every man, woman, and child besides the harlot that let them in the back door. So we could see what's gone on for thousands of years, and this is all a reptilian control system is what we are seeing. It truly is demonic. Truly, it's very demonic.
It is. It's really not nice. And Don Lambert says, "Oh, please, let's not focus on people's ignorance. I want to hear more about the channeling of the Seven Sisters, please." I can't stay in channel for very long because it is pretty hard on my heart. I'm working on that. I'm working on blasting out those blocks and whatnot. And the more people I can work on, the clearer channel I can become, and get you guys what I get. But I do. I don't want to focus on people's ignorance, but also part of the channel is to help awaken people if they want to be woke. They're here for a reason, whether they like it or not. They are here for a very important reason, and maybe that's just to remind us some of us where we came from, and we don't want to go back there. Maybe they're here because somewhere deep in their soul they do want to believe that there is something better. But I agree, what kind of God would have a chosen people unless it were like a reptilian God, like the God of this world. So there's just a lot of things we want to try to, the newcomers are the most important ones. They're super important. So, we do entertain for at least a little bit. But yeah, back to, and I'm assuming the Seven Sisters, you mean the Pleiadians. Yeah. Yeah, I'm working on it, Don. I'm working on it. But basically, last night's message was, do call on us and we will throw you a rope, but you have to grab that rope. And I don't know, my heart chakra is going off now. I just love you guys. Are so awesome.
Yeah. It's sad, but it's just the way it is. And I like this smaller channel because, there's a lot of energies that come to the bigger channel that are not of the highest vibe. And, we decided we're not going to cover the plague that's upon the land anymore and a lot of those other things. But you do have to throw light on the darkness, because that's what's assaulting us, and as we're getting back to the channeling of the Pleiadian energy and other energies as well, Syrian, Arcturian, Andromedan, there's many benevolent ones, and these beings are mostly of the higher densities, but we could see them. Those that as we go up in vibration, we'll be able to see them more and more and more. So it most definitely is a battle of the light or the dark against the dark. But the thing is too, we have a lot more in us than they have in them, as far as the ones that are governed by the darkness, and they can't go where we could go, or where we go many times when we're just even in meditation, and in a higher state of being.
Yeah, it's really important. Still the message is still coming through, to reach the higher dimensions. Like right now is like a critical time, and it's hard for them to give us an exact time with, time space not really being time space. So, but I did feel like last night was a super strong connection. I did feel that they were close, that they are here, they are hearing us, they do hear us. I wouldn't be surprised if some people started getting like direct visits. I really feel the time is close, that we are going to become a much better people, and people like us are going to become the majority instead of the minority.
Yeah, and the Lyrans too. The thought is that, that is perhaps even the source of where the Pleiadians and ourselves come from, that humans really started out as Lyrans as well. So, yeah, native Aboriginal Australians believe it came from the Seven Sisters, the Pleiades. Yeah, there's quite a few that do. You see that in Africa too, as well with the Dogon. And as Raven says, TV programming. Mm-hmm. Think about the wording. There's so much wording, especially in the English language when you get down to it. Sweetgrass is currently in contact with a small band of Lyrans. Very cool.
That is very cool. Yeah, I mean, I think more and more and more of us are going to be able to get these channeling things going on, and I think it's like really critical to help raise the vibration and the understanding that it's more than just us out here. We're not alone.
No, we're not. We're not. But what happens is, obviously, when you're spreading hope, then everything. Calvin, I owe me a cola. Okay, well, no sugar though. Sugar's not good for you, Calvin. You should try one of those waters that is all natural instead. Christine hasn't watched TV for years. We haven't either. I mean, we'll watch some movies here and there. Mostly, we're just looking at particular videos. And, it'd be wonderful if we have another source besides YouTube, because we know YouTube is Google, and Google is Alphabet, and Alphabet is, it's all part of the machine. And that's why we have all the censorship we do. And while I'm thinking about it, guys, just want to mention to you guys as well, we set up a D Live as well. So we'll be able to stream from there. So far, 32 others have joined us over there. So do join us over on D Live, because, at some point, they're going to shut down everything. And there's been so many channels demonetized right now. It's crazy. So hop on over there as well, and we'll start going live over there as well.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. We got the account set up, and now we just got to start streaming on there. So please, if you got a moment, hop over there, because you guys are our core. You're our core here, and you're very important. And from the core, like, branches off many different ideas, and it's really good that we connect and we make these energetic connections so that we can reach out and help those who want the help. We don't want to push our beliefs on anybody. I think one thing I heard one time is called attraction rather than promotion. We don't want to promote anything to anybody, but we do want to attract people who want help and who want knowledge, and give it to them when they do come.
Okay, so we have Granny Anonymous says, do entities come in meditation? Are they benevolent or malevolent? I'm concerned. It's so easy to tell. I mean, when an entity is benevolent or malevolent, it is so easy to tell. How would you explain it, sweetie?
Well, when there's like a nasty attachment, I shake and I sweat and I'm like uncontrollable. It's like a sheer fear, like you're about to die. And then when it's benevolent, my heart chakra goes off. So I'm very much one who listens to her body. That's how it works with me. And then I get these information that goes through me, like a lot of emotions, and then I translate that. So that's how it works for me.
Yeah, it's not. You could, as Penny says, you feel immediately. There's no need to be worried because it's so obvious. At least it's so obvious for those that I guess are sensitive to these things. It's just totally obvious. And Cindy and I have both throughout our lives, we've been we've experienced the good, bad, the ugly, and then the benevolent and the beautiful. And it's just so obvious. It's not like it can deceive you when you can feel the vibration of something. You can't be deceived. You're not going to be deceived. Now, if you don't have any perceptive abilities, if you've been still drinking fluoridated water forever, and you're eating the junk food and you're not cultivating, the inner light, the inner wisdom, as well as working on decalcifying your pineal gland, then perhaps you could be, deceived, or if you allow yourself to be pulled into the lower energies, then yeah. But when you're awake, when you're truly awake, there's no getting deceived because it's just so obvious. You could just feel the love emanating from them, the benevolence coming from them. it's so crystal clear, absolutely crystal clear. And so there's no reason for fear, because you could feel what these beings are. And last night we had a interesting little thing with Zeke. There was something outside. There was a couple of strange knocks, and Zeke came and just put himself in the doorway, and his eyes were glowing golden. And it was pretty cool because he's got, dark brown eyes. And Cindy saw an orb then.
Popped out of his head. Yeah, and two popped out of his head. That was so cool.
And so I recognize them as protecting beings that have been around me for years now. And, very, very benevolent. I awoke once. There was a period of 4 days out of 5, 4 nights out of 5 nights when they appeared. And I felt like laughing and giggling, and they were playful but loving and warm, and just so obvious. There's no denying that. And then I've also experienced a golden orb, which was purely angelic, very, very high vibe. And then I've seen tons of blue-gray orbs, which are more like regular, typical humans, and then, nature spirits as well, elemental beings, which, they're just here to maintain everything. And then we've experienced the dark ones, the wraiths, so to speak, the shadow people, which are very, very malevolent, very nasty, very dark. Exact opposite. It's just so obvious and so clear.
It is. And, there's like certain frequencies of information that you can pick up. And unfortunately, I don't know what to think about it, but I can channel pretty darn low. That's just me, and I have to stop that somehow. But sometimes the information comes through and it's really hard to channel. And then, you can reach the super high frequencies, and those always feel super good and super blissful. But everything it's just sound and frequency. That's why when I use the tuning forks, those are actually helping pull you into alignment with your sound frequency body. And it's really good for you. And I noticed some people are getting a little bit of anxiety. They were texting me, and that's going to happen when you're moving into alignment. It starts like this, like certain things going on at home become a little bit intolerable. So your boundaries become a little bit stronger as you move into alignment. So it's definitely a process, and it's definitely something you have to look at home and see, well, what can I change? What can I make different? How can I make this easier on myself? And it does involve some pampering of yourself. This is super important. Talking to the higher self, doing mirror work, telling yourself in the mirror, I love you. You're getting better every day. You're doing really well. I'm so proud of you. It sounds corny, but it's your higher self. He wants to hear from you, and they want to hear nice things. So it's all very curious how this energy works.
Penny Love Dance says, cutest one I've seen looked like a little troll, but smiling. He was blessing from the young man's grandpa. LOL. He was cool. Yeah, all sorts of nature spirits. There is one that we have that's, I guess he to me, he sounds more like a brownie, a brown elf, you would think, in some traditions. See, all those legends, they're real. They really are real. And, there are a ton of nature spirits. Raven is over there in the mountains, in the Appalachian Mountains. And if you talk to the people that have lived there a long time, so many people will tell you of their encounters with the little people there. Just like you would hear if you were in Ireland or Scotland, over in the UK, as well as other beings as well. But the little people are real. And you'll see them sometimes as just a twinkling of light.
Yeah, we get a lot of twinklings of lights, sometimes like right in the corner, and sometimes like I'll be looking out somewhere and then I'll see the twinkle like right in front of me. So I know that the veil is thinning. I think part of it too, though, is my diet has changed a whole lot, and I did manage to get myself off of the prescriptions they were giving me because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with my brain. And I've figured out there's really nothing wrong with my brain. It just receives a lot of information, and I didn't know that I could channel it. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Didn't know how to do it. Didn't know what it was for. And it's like they have a system set up to catch a lot of us and say that we're crazy. Oh, here, take this pill. This will make that voice go away. Here, take that pill. This will make that thing go away. But really, we're just receiving information. It's all about information. And if it's coming to you, it wants to go through you for some reason or another. And, even if it's to take a notebook, it could be your ancestor. I've noticed we've been working on people who need a lot of ancestral DNA work. And things might come to you that make absolutely no sense, but your great-great-grandma would completely understand, and she would be grateful if you just simply wrote it down and processed that bit of information and let it go for her.
And so let's see. Christine says she saw a water elemental a few weeks ago sitting by a river and meditating, felt so blessed. That's part of the bigger issue here. So we have been cut off from the earth with our belief systems. Think about it. Think how they've persecuted anybody that was shamanistic. And what has that done? Well, it's taken us away from intuitive knowing. It's disconnected us from Mother Earth. It's made us accept what we have now with medicine, allopathic medicine, which basically, it's all stuff that will disconnect us even more, from our higher self, from the earth, from all the earth's creatures. That's really part of this grand design, is to keep us isolated and separated. Look at us right now. We're all in quarantine, right? Kind of, Cindy and I, we don't really have much contact with humans. We have Zeke and Sassy with us, and, neighbors are literally, so far away. So it's kind of a blessing because in isolation, you can connect to Mother Earth and to the elementals. And there are elemental beings that are in charge of fixing your body and healing your body. Now, if you are abusive to yourself and you're disconnected from Mother Earth, because they serve Mother Earth as well, then it's going to kind of disconnect them from you. And so it's nice to have a wife that's super gifted psychically. And so when I'm doing my standing, my QiGong standing meditation, what's called Zhang, like embracing the tree, for instance, she sees the elemental beings, and we just figured out, like yesterday, really, she noticed where they were coming from, because I was just assuming when I'm drawing energy like this, they're coming up from the earth and up into my body from the earth. But she actually saw them actually coming out of my meridians.
Yeah, they're always there, and we all have them. And when you do the, when you do the energy work and the standing, they could move through those light meridians, and they come out and they can work on you and work on your energy field. So I think that's why, like, when I started doing the Qigong, I started getting more and more sensitive, because I was allowing those elementals to come out and do the work that they're supposed to do and rebuild my energy field and strengthen me.
And so that gives us a chance to do that. And we'll do a video on Qigong, and I'll use Cindy as a model so I could critique her and get her lined up perfectly so you guys could see how to draw the energy in. I've done a couple talking about the standing meditation, and it's called Zhang, but it's spelled like ZHANG and then ZHUANG. And it's powerful because it allows for your body to be really restored. It's one of the most powerful healing tools I know. It's super powerful.
Yeah, it is. And it helps strengthen the energy body. And to me, like, I know we're dealing with this certain illness, and with any cold or anything that's going on through the house, if you have a good thick energy body, you're probably going to do better than most. So they don't teach us about our energy bodies in school. They don't teach us that our bodies are kind of made of plasma. They don't teach us that, back in the 90s, they finally admitted that we do have an aura, and it is like a plasma thing. It's a thing. So when I'm using tuning forks and removing blockages and I'm going through the energy field, it's like I hit these little bumps or these little knots, and they're like physical things. They'd rather you think you're crazy, than say, hey, well, maybe we can help heal ourselves and heal each other. That would take money out of certain pockets. Can't have that.
So Raven says he watched a tree wake up one year. It shook its branch until the bud opened, and then the opposite side back and forth until the leaves were open. Yeah, we planted a whole bunch of pepper and tomato plants. And there's one plant that when we go by it, every now and then it'll move on its own completely. And that's the elemental that's in the plant. And when I used to have really good gardens in the past, I would sit and meditate in them and focus on the earth and drawing energy from the earth for myself, also sending it to the plants. Yesterday we had a cilantro plant which grew so quick it's too big for its pot, so it was starting to get droopy. And so Cindy sent energy into it, and like an hour later its leaves were all up and it was doing wonderful.
Yeah, I was surprised. That was really cool. So try it on your plants, just see. Practice. It's a lot of fun. It's good stuff.
Yeah, and that's part of this whole thing is, the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom balance each other. So we can eat animals, which, some people don't, the Hindu tradition, the Buddhist tradition, you don't, simply because too much of like, in one sense, too much of like is not good. If you understand like the doshas, Kapha, Pitta, and Vata, and this is out of the Ayurvedic system. If you are Pitta, which is fiery, and you might have a penchant for spicy foods like I do, it could send you off balance because you're getting too much of that element, so to speak. So the plant kingdom obviously is in a natural balance with us. So, plants expel the carbon dioxide, and we, actually they take in the carbon dioxide, expel the oxygen. We do the opposite. So it's a perfect balancing act that we see. And also plants, for the most part, not every one of them, but food that comes from plants, for the most part, is more alkaline than if you're eating animal products. And not every case is exactly it's not exactly that with every single thing, but overall. So we can see how nature's balance things just naturally.
They do. And TI says drugs tear holes in the aura. And oh my gosh, when I work on somebody's energy field, this is crazy you said that, because the vibration I go through, and sometimes I do hit these dead spots, and it's just a dead spot. There's no vibration in that fork at all. But what I do with that one is I just sit there and whack the tuning fork until I do feel the vibration and the light come in, and that's how I fix that. But very good observation.
And Phoenix Rain says that's what Jesus was trying to teach also, that we all have the ability to be healers. Yeah. Because, how could we do greater things than he, which is what he said. He said, you're going to do even greater things. Why are you amazed at all these things that he's done? You're going to even do more. How could that possibly be if he was so unique that we could never hope to be like him? But then he also said, you're going to see the signs of the end. You'll hear of wars, rumors of wars and all that. But don't look here, don't look there, because, the whole time the kingdom of heaven is within. It's always been within us, so it's a matter of cultivating us. It's just that simple, it's really that simple. It's just a matter of cultivating it.
Right, right. And TI says you also would eat fear, suffering of the animal. Animal products cause acidity and mucus. Yeah, then there's that whole aspect of the animals. And for me personally, I mean, I don't want to tell anybody what to eat or not to eat, but for me personally, I was such an empath that when I eat animal meat, it's like I was getting those fear hormones and they were moving into me and it was creating anxiety, but at a shamanistic point of view, those are different. The animal chooses to sacrifice, and in some shamanistic ways, they feel that the animal ascends higher if that's what they do. So everybody has their own belief systems. But as far as the meat that's in our like stores and stuff, no, that stuff to me is toxic.
And, as Cindy was alluding to, and as T.I. was alluding to, the last several times I ate meat, which has been a while now, I had nightmares, and the nightmares were brutal because in one nightmare I remember clearly it was like I was a cow and I was in the slaughter room and I watched them slaughter like my mother cow, and just kind of like stab it with this thing that just punched it in its like jugular vein in its neck, and it started to bleed out. And I just remember the thoughts of, why are they doing this? What did we do? Why are they doing this to us? Because animals do have feelings. They most definitely do. They have feelings, they have emotion, they have fear, they have anxiety. If you look at it from the Vedic point of view, the soul just learns and grows and goes through all different types of incarnations. So it's also a matter of, do we want to stay where we're at or do we want to go higher? Because, if we could look back and say, well, our ancestors, were hunter-gatherers and they used to hunt and then they'd eat and, perhaps they would eat a lot and then they'd go long periods of time without eating much. But at the same time, do we want to regress or do we want to move forward? Do we want to go into something greater, something better, and evolve upwards? Because there is the line of thought that, what's after human? Well, it's more like the devas. It's more like the higher devas is like the next step up, which you could also look at it like, becoming more of an angelic type of being in our evolution of a soul.
Right. And Marie says here she's having trouble when it comes to bedtime with your 9-year-old daughter, and she just has she feels a scary feeling inside of her that something is going to pop off and scare her. Okay. That's an attachment. If you have sage works wonders because sage kills like bacteria and stuff in the air. I mean, to me, I'm sensing an attachment there. And that might be something that could help because it does change the ether around her. It should kick out just about anything that's there. And it says meditate. We do so many things to just try to take that bad feeling away, but it seems to just be here all the time. And then also sometimes there might be something that needs processed too. Our emotions are important. We don't always want to try to shun them. If something's hurting, you need to listen and try to see what it is because it might be coming from within. It could be, hormones. It could be, an amount of different things. So we do want to pay attention at the same time. I would burn sage just to be safe.
And Taylor Noose is living off of oranges. That's all that their body wants. And I understand that totally. There's been times when pretty much all I was living off of was watermelon. I love watermelon in the summer, especially when I was living in South Carolina. And doing a lot of physical activity. And also in Florida, and for a long time, all I would basically have is one big salad a day and then a fruit plate in the morning. And I felt great. Felt amazing. And we're not eating much now, and our energy level is really good. It's very good. So that's awesome. But yeah, I think we evolve. So, and it's a personal choice too. Like right now, yeah, I just feel strongly not to. And then I did get a message in meditation that told me, do not eat meat in 2021. And that came through meditation. It said, do not eat meat in 2021. And I don't know if that's because it's going to be tainted, or if it's a vibrational thing, or possibly some of both. I mean, we saw what happened with so many pigs, the pig Ebola, the pig flu. The world actually lost like a third to a half of its pigs. It was incredible. We've gone through some massive die-offs, and of course we have chronic wasting disease, and so many of the deer are out there, which is just like mad cow. And then if you're eating fish, with Fukushima and everything, that's there's radioactivity, there's so much mercury. And then you got avian flu, H1N1. I got to wonder about all these things getting into our bodies and then being activated by certain frequencies, and I don't know. I just feel like it's safer not to, and I honestly don't have the desire so much to. I just feel instinctively now it's time to move away from heaviness and density. Because I think that we are on the ascension path, and that means things vibrating quicker, eating, live food as much as possible. And think about, what's better than, picking an apple from your yard, from your tree. Cindy's mom has a plum tree that is freaking amazing. When it gives the plums out, that was like the best plums I've ever tasted in my life. And then there's pomegranate trees, at several people's house around here too. We had more pomegranates than we could ever use. And God, I love pomegranates too. They just feel so good. So I don't know. Can you eat something and just feel that the cells in your body are singing and happy because of it? Because I could. And that's what I get when I'm eating live stuff, like a really good salad or fresh fruit.
Oh my gosh, I do too. And Michael makes something super yummy, and my body knows. My body tells me. It's like I can feel my cells exchanging information. They're like super happy, and that goes back to everything as vibration. And we want to make our bodies as conductive as possible. We want our cells to be exchanging information as quickly and efficiently as possible. And that also helps raise the vibration. Our 3D bodies are very important. They lead the way to our higher self. So, there's talk in certain literature that talk about, honoring the temple. That's our body. You want to honor the body and the mind, because they have to work together in tandem. And sometimes, I don't know, sometimes it's not easy. And you can sometimes also lead that back to someone's diet. Maybe they're eating processed foods, or maybe they're eating sugars, and it's just not good for you. It'll slow your vibration. It'll latch on, the sugar will latch on to the cell, and it'll just hang there, and it'll slow the vibration of the cell. So all these things need to be looked at when we're trying to raise vibrations. Yeah.
So Kim had said, wouldn't it be great if we could just get by with, taking the energy from the sun? Well, I think we can when we get to a certain point. And I've done probably half dozen videos covering just that. There was this one yogi who was monitored for 14 days, I think the first time, and I want to say 21 the second time. He didn't eat and he didn't drink. So, food for 14 days, 21 days without food, yeah, that's a no-brainer. We can do it. We can live. Water, you're supposed to be dead. And so he wasn't dead. And not only that, but his bodily functions were excellent, very, very good. And there's been others as well. Have you guys ever read the book Living on Light? That's an interesting book because it documents some cases of people going prolonged periods of time with no food. And I've experimented too, and it's kind of curious because it seems like my body just stabilizes at a certain weight even when I'm barely eating. And it doesn't go below that for the most part, so it's interesting. Now, one of the things I'll do is typically I end up doing more QiGong and drawing in more life force. And that's where the real power and healing is at. It's in the life force.
It is. It really, really is. You know, a lot of our diet can be either to blame for good or to blame for bad. But one thing for sure, it is important what we put into our body, because what we put into our body eventually is going to turn into what we would consider, well, ourself. So human being. And if you're putting in processed foods and foods that don't meld very well with our body makeup and chemistry, it's going to make for a body that's a little bit weaker and might be not so healthy. So our diets, that's really important.
And you look at all the different religious traditions, you know, you have Jesus going out and fasting for 40 days, right? You see that in all these. Buddha, same thing. He went and just basically sat in the Bodhi tree and, meditated for like 40 days as well until he reached enlightenment. You know, it's a key. Fasting is a key, you know, to discovering that we're way more than the physical body. Way, way, way more. And things come in waves, and you have to be sensitive to your body to develop it as well. So for most people, I would recommend first doing just intermittent fasting. You know, maybe eating in an 8-hour window, squeezing it down to a 6-hour window, and then maybe try and eating once a day for a while. It's all good. Plus, we need to detox all the time now because of all the toxins around us, everything that we're exposed to. And I think we need to detox from our tech as well. Shut the cell phones off, you know, shut everything off, because I do think that negative energies can be transmitted through all of our technology. And I was watching a video of a guy, and Cindy, I think Cindy's the one that showed me it. And he was in the middle of a city, and the radiation that was coming off of a a CELLTOWER was incredible. And so, you know, he had, like a Geiger counter, yeah. You know, and we do too. And, you know, the energy that was coming off was just insane. No wonder people get sick in these urban environments.
They do. And when outside information interrupts our energy body, that can really throw us for a loop. Like when we have traumas that are standing there in your energy field, and the energy isn't coming in as a free flow stream, it has to go around a trauma, a standing energy wave, that kind of skews the body. And that's what I think these things are doing. They are interrupting the energy field. Very, very bad. That's very bad.
Well, we don't want you missing the streams, Christine. And look at all the people that eat once a day. Truth Enterprise, Penny Love Dance. You know, you could tell the people that have gravitated towards these type of things because they always seem to be so similarly in tune, you know, and that's part of also when you look at some of the people that will have a different mindset, perhaps we would view it as being not so spiritually minded. They're also often, not always, but often, you know, constant nibblers, taking in food all the time. All that is constantly kind of, it takes energy away from our bodies. And, you know, the energy is diverted into just breaking down food instead of repairing things, and also for higher functions as well. So it's just another way to help us to lift up in these times. And, you know, the EMFs, as Truth Enterprise is talking about, we're exposed to so much of that now. And Wi-Fi is radiation, as TI says, most definitely. This is all part of the big, you know, picture that we're uncovering.
So when we do the tuning at the end of the show, we want to be programming your energy body so the energy forces will automatically pull you toward your healthiest self. So when I ask you guys to imagine your healthiest self, it's really important to put that right in your pineal gland. And then it seems like people don't need to use so much willpower as much as their body will kind of force them to do the right thing. And that's what can create some of the uncomfortable stuff. But believe me, it's the best uncomfortable stuff you will ever go through in your life to be pulled into alignment.
So let's do that now, guys. And what we're going to be doing, visualize, put your feet flat on the ground if you can, and visualize your roots sinking down into the earth, going into the core of the earth where there's this giant, vibrant, green, crystalline energy. It's pure plasma at the heart of the earth. With each inhale, you're going to draw that up through your foot chakras into your body. See it encase your entire body in this crystalline green light, which is going to help every single cell to come into perfect balance, remove any stagnant energies, and heal the physical body. As Cindy is going to clear our blockages right here. And now switch your attention to the crown chakra up at the top of the head, and as you inhale in, draw in a crystal violet light. Sweeps all the way down through the head, down through the torso, the arms and the legs, washes away anything that's lower vibrational, any fear, any dis-ease, and lifts you up in vibration, up into the higher realms, speeding your ascension process. Beautiful. I hope everybody felt that wave of energy through you and feel lighter now. Do you guys feel better and lighter now?
Gosh, hold that picture of health in your mind, and throughout the day, drink plenty of water to help the information flow through your body. T.I. says, Cindy, where'd you learn to do this? Was it downloads? Part of it I learned online. I did hear about the tuning forks, and once I realized how much sense that made to me, the rest of it came to me. So a lot of it was downloads, but part of it was online. And sometimes it's just a matter of what triggers you. If you find something triggers you, go try it, go check it out, go get curious about yourself, because I've really been able to help a lot of people remove blocks and move themselves into alignment through this process. Just because I heard something about it, it made sense to me. So the rest is history. And this is where, to me, I don't know, it just made sense. So it's kind of like, a shaman will come into your energy field with a drum and take it apart and pull out the traumas and do soul retrieval. I use a tuning fork, and I use it on a mass scale with you guys, and we do individuals too. Michael and I both can move some serious energy with his abilities and my abilities together. It's created this really cool hybrid energy work.
It's a blessing, but that's part of why we're together. So the other side has orchestrated things, and that's why we're here. And so it's a blessing. So I want to thank you guys for your support in every way. Keep your spirits up as we roll through these times and we head towards something much more beautiful.
Oh, you guys are so sweet, wonderful. Love the high vibes in here. God bless and namaste.
God bless, guys. Namaste.